Hello, family. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Justaria, and I am the demystified herbalist. Like I said, welcome to the fourth episode of the Dear Herbalist podcast titled, Can a Self Taught Herbalist Be Effective? So let's dive into this. I thought that this would be a good topic because I myself am a self-taught herbalist. And there seems to be this underlying current that if you are self-taught herbalist, then you are less intelligent. You don't have the information needed to help someone or even to educate someone, which is all not true, right? Because education, in its simple definition, as the late Dr. Francis Cress Wilson said it, is to simply bring someone out of ignorance, right? So being self taught doesn't necessarily mean that you are any less intelligent, nor can you help someone get from point A to point B, right? So, for the sake of definition, I am an herbal educator and researcher. So, we need to define some words before we move forward. So, let's define what a self taught herbalist is. Okay. A self taught herbalist is an individual who independently learns about and practices herbalism without formal education or structured training from institutions. They typically acquire knowledge through self guided study, practical experiences, participation in online courses, and exploration of herbal remedies, often tailoring their learning to personal interest and preferences. That is me. She is I, and I am she. Now, note in that definition, I did not say self taught herbalist is someone who just touches plants and then hops into recommending herbal remedies to others. That would be very irresponsible of me to say that, as well as for anyone to do that, right? Now, for my path, I chose to be self taught. I looked at several naturopath programs and several herbal school programs, and I didn't want to feel stuck to a curriculum. And I always had a desire to dive deeper into many different subjects at my own pace, on my own time, and as inexpensively as possible. Okay. Not knocking the cost of some of these schools, but I have four children, and these babies are not cheap. So I had to be very wise in how I spend these coins. All right. And so I study many different subjects, ranging from anatomy and chemistry to psychology and herbal medicine. I also study, traditional Chinese medicine, ancient Ayurveda medicine, and other traditional medicine systems. I have a personal library that contains over 200 books on various topics, and I have several folders on my computer of several hundred more digital books that I read. Am I bragging? No. But what I'm trying to do is show you that I take my education seriously, and I study many different subjects, all, in the same area of herbal medicine, plant medicine, the human body, and the mind, and all of these things, so that I can be a more well rounded herbalist. And because I know that my calling is education and my love is research, I combine them both to help other herbalists be the most effective them they can be. Okay. Now, I've used the knowledge that I have gained over the years to create products that have impacted the lives of many people, including those in my family. And so I'm not shy of knowledge. Okay. I don't speak about what I don't know about, and I don't recommend what I haven't used or even researched. Okay. So I feel like I'm very responsible in that way, and I tend to encourage other people. Now, you have to realize when you call yourself a self taught herbalist, expect some looks. Okay. Expect some looks. People are going to look at you like you've lost your mind. Okay. Um, and I've had that happen to me, at a couple of shows that I did when I was selling my products. I do herbal teas, herbal oils. I've authored 2 books on herbal medicine. And so I talk to people about survival and, locks and just a variety of topics that I've spent a lot of time researching. And those 2 books are kind of like a culmination of everything that I had been researching. Never mind the fact that I have a couple more books coming on the way as well. So, of course, when I'm out on the road meeting different people and talking to different people, I'm explaining this to them. I'm very passionate about it. And they're very interested. They're like, oh, wow, that's great. That's amazing. And then they ask me, what they can do for their condition. And I'm the type of person, if I don't have a product in front of you that can help you, I'm not so much of a salesman that I can't tell you, okay, this is what you can do specifically to address your issue. And if I don't have the plant, I can tell you where to get it, right? I can make a recommendation on, where you can get things or find things, even if I don't have them. Because again, I'm not so much of a salesman that it's like, let me try to, take what I do offer and try to fit it into, what they're asking for just because I want a sale. Not into that. Never been into that way of thinking at all. So after all of that, they're really encouraged by what I'm telling them. They really felt like they gained a lot of knowledge from me. You could see the light going on in their head, like the light bulb, and they're like, "Wow, okay, I'm gonna do that." And she's really knowledgeable, and she thoroughly explained the mechanisms of the disorder that I'm dealing with and the mechanisms of the plants and how I can fuse them together. Like, you go through all of that. And then the next question is after all of that, after going through all of that, talking about all of my products, talking about my books that I've authored and worked very hard on, after going through all of that, the next question is so, um, where do you get your information from? How did you learn all of this? Right. So, in the beginning, when I first heard this question, I was like, oh, well, I'm self taught and I've been researching herbs and using herbs for over 15 years, and I'm just really excited about it and all of that. And only to have someone kind of, I put my little balloon up in the air and they put a little pin with their eyes and popped my balloon and it just flopped. That's what it felt like, at least. They're like, oh. And you could just see on their face, they were waiting for me to say, well, I've got my master's degree from the Harvard Medical School of Natural Medicine. you know, so if I'm honest early on, I would get discouraged and just be like, oh, and so I felt like, let me run out and go and get some kind of certificate or, all of this other stuff. And that's where, I began to do a lot more research and dive into online courses, which don't get me wrong, online courses are amazing. They really helped fill in my knowledge gaps. And so I loved that I could pick certain courses and tailor them to what it is that I needed to know. Right. So earlier on, I felt like, dang, I need to have something to validate me, or something that I could say that would get people to really buy into what I'm saying. Like, I have the right to say what I have to say because I've studied it and walked it out, used herbs myself, used all my products. So I know they work. And this still small voice, as I'm running this stuff through my head and trying to figure out what diploma courses I could take and all this stuff, not solely just to get the knowledge, but so that I can hurry up and have something, a stamp or something that says I know what the heck I'm talking about, right? So that other people, let me just say that because I know what I'm talking about, but so that other people are able to receive from me because they know, oh, well, you're certified this or you're certified that, because that matters to them, right? And the Most High said to me, I validate you. And I was like, come again? But I felt that in my soul. And when I heard that, from that point forward, I was no longer just going to hop and pay for a class just to get a certification just to appease others. I was no longer going to worry about the smiles that turn into frowns after people realized that I taught myself. you know, well, how can you dare know anything? Teaching yourself. Never mind the fact that even with certain medical schools, a lot of the professors you can find on almost any subject, okay, their lectures on YouTube. So if you want to dive deeper on certain things, especially, medical things, you can go and technically take the same classes and lectures online for free and study. The scriptures say, study to show yourself approved, right? So you have to study and do the work. I don't advocate for herbalists being self taught if you're lazy. This is not what that's for. This is for people that want to tailor their learning to their needs. Because let's face it, not everybody has hundreds of thousands of dollars to give to an education, right? To a structured program, right? And so because of that, people feel like, well, I can't afford it, so maybe I'll just find something else to do, not realizing that everything that that person knows or that school knows or that professor knows, they had to learn it from somewhere. Experience, books, courses. You can find syllabus online. You can get, and I'm telling you from what I know now, you can go to the top medical schools and get their course outline, get their books and their textbooks that they use, and get a lot of that information online. So if you are wondering, do you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to know what you need to know to be the type of herbalist you're supposed to be? The answer is no. You don't have to go and spend a whole lot of money. Okay? And in certain instances, you don't have to spend any, because knowledge is ever growing. Pick up a book, watch on YouTube, buy courses. Couple $100, you can get a full program in some places. But take charge of your own education. Okay, I've used the knowledge that I've gained over all of these years to create the products that I have that have impacted the lives of people, including those in my family. So at the end of the day, okay, when it comes to herbal medicine, knowledge is important. Knowledge of the foundational sciences, knowledge of plant medicine, and knowledge of the herbal medicine, right? These things are important. But at the end of the day, I always say the proof is in the pudding. All right? The proof is in the pudding. So, what does that mean? That means that if you have someone, let's just say you take one person, they believe in what you're saying, they're like, I'll try your product or, your course or whatever it is that you're selling, and they benefit from that. Let's say you have a medicinal product and they benefit from that. Trust and believe they are going to tell someone who's going to tell someone who's going to tell someone. Okay? And so, and sometimes it progresses like that, rather than waiting for the masses of people to come in to buy in. You may have a few scattered people, but as long as you have a consistent few scatter of people, you're building something. Okay? And so that's how you can build people's trust in you and trust in the product or services that you offer because you've helped someone else. So you start getting a lot of word of mouth clients. And at the end of the day, in the field of herbal medicine, okay, what trumps all of this is the fact that what you did or what you know has been proven. Somebody has gotten better because of the information you had or because of the product that you had. Somebody's lives have gotten better because of that. And because of that fact, you will have people beating down your doors. So do not worry if you don't have master this behind your name or MD, HD, ND, any of those. Okay? But you do have to study. Now, the beauty of that, okay, is that because of I've done it the way I've done it, I've had repeat customers, and my customers have brought me new customers because they found what I have, formulated actually helps them. So be encouraged by that and keep that in mind if you are an herbalist that is self-taught. Okay. Now let's talk about, some of the benefits. Why would somebody choose to be self-taught? But understand that each person on this journey has their own path, and that is okay. If you want to go to an herbalist school, then do it. If you want to go to a naturopath school or program, then do it. All I ask is that whatever you do, take charge of your education. Do not be lazy, okay? And make sure that you can tailor your learning to your own individual needs and desires. Education for herbalists is the key, and this can't ever be looked over. And so, like I said before, being self-taught does not mean that I advocate for people to not read books or to educate themselves. All right? The blueprint to being self-taught is that you need a solid foundation in the human body, okay? You need a solid foundation in the plant body, as well as herbal formulation. And I would also add chemistry. Okay? These things are important. So you got anatomy and physiology, you've got chemistry, you can even throw in biochemistry, okay? And these subjects are not hard to understand. They may seem like it, but the more you dive into the research, it will come to you, trust me. But these are vital science subjects that you would need to know and to study. Herbal formulation is very important as well. And then obviously studying the plant body. It's very important to study that because there are similar processes in the plant body to ours. And we need to know how we can use some of those processes to help fill in the gaps when our systems are seemingly out of balance. Okay? So that's very important. I'm a huge advocate in knowing and understanding those subjects. And then the other thing to look at and to know is how to get to the root of an issue. Okay, some herbalists out there Probably a lot of herbalists out there are only focusing on the symptoms, right? And we don't want to do that. We want to use the symptoms as kind of like a guide to help us understand what the body is saying. But you don't want to use the symptoms, and just address those. It's almost like the check engine light of your car. Well, if somebody just keeps cutting off the check engine light without dealing with the issue that it's notifying you of, then your check engine light's just going to keep coming on. And I want to say I kind of had an experience with that, with a car that I had many moons ago. And I really did feel deep down in my soul that this man just cut off the sensor. Because when I got back in my car to drive off, the check engine light came on again. And he gave me some long excuse. And I'm just like, you didn't fix this. So it's the same with the human body. The symptoms will go away when the root issue is addressed. All right. So I preach taking personal responsibility of what you know, okay, and the need for people to make sure that you don't ever operate outside of your level of knowledge. Okay, it is that simple. All right. Now, if you are a self-taught herbalist, or you want to go this route, then I would recommend that you start to grow your herbalist library. You know what I mean? I think that's very, very, very important. All right, but I did say I was going to talk about the benefits of, let me pull my notesy notes. All right, so what are the benefits of being a self-taught herbalist? The first thing is flexibility, right? Being self-taught kind of gives you the flexibility to explore some topics at your own pace, right? And you can kind of customize your journey. So since I knew that I wanted to get into herbal education and I wanted to also do research, I really started diving in deeper in the medical subjects. So I really started honing into the chemistries and the biochemistries, like I said before, to kind of help me understand the chemical makeup of our bodies and plants. And when we get out of balance, they call it dis-ease. Well, even in that state, there's a chemical process that is going on. And so I was fascinated by the subject and I wanted to know more about it. So I got to customize, and I continue to get to customize what I want to learn and how to apply it to plant medicine on my own journey, but also for those that I teach as well. The other thing is, you can choose your study materials, and you can choose other methods based on your individual preferences. So it kind of gives you a little bit of autonomy and independence. So if you tend to be someone that likes to just sit and listen to lectures, you can do that. If you're someone that has to touch physical books, you can grab those. So it gives you a lot of autonomy and independence in your learning. All right. Another thing is resourcefulness. So self-taught herbalists often develop a sense of resourcefulness. Why? Because we have to navigate between different sources, from like books to online materials to our practical experiences. So we tend to be very resourceful because we rely on a more eclectic style of learning, right? And I like that because I tend to get bored with routine. And once I learn something and I got it, I want to move on, right? I don't want the pace to go too fast, but I dang sure don't want it to go too slow. So that's a benefit for me. Another thing is hands-on learning, right? And this is really key for those that are self-taught. So as self-taught herbalists, we can engage in a lot of hands-on experiences like growing our own herbs and making remedies and, kind of experimenting with various formulations. And so it's a really good, you know what I mean? It's a really, really good thing. The other benefit is that we can tailor our studies to focus on specific areas of interest. So, and that could be a variety of topics. You can dive deeper into herbal energetics, or you can look at formulation, or even zero in on certain medicinal properties of plants, which, from a chemistry standpoint, it's really, really, really fascinating. And we'll talk about a lot of that as we move forward in these podcasts. The other benefit is the cost effectiveness. So, self taught learning can be very cost effective because you're using a lot of free online resources, books, like I said, practical experiences. You're just having access to a lot of information at a very low cost or even free. And so you don't have that huge financial commitment that can come with a formal education program. All right. The other thing is empowerment. So, being self taught, you really do feel empowered because you are taking charge of your education, and you feel more confident when you're working with your clients because, again, you're only working within the scope of the knowledge that you possess. You're building your confidence in what you know as well as the skills that you have. So it's a beautiful thing. And then the final benefit, but there's so many, right? There's so many, is your connection to nature. And learning on your own often involves spending a considerable amount of time outdoors connecting with nature and developing a deep understanding of the plants in their natural environment. You get to spend a little bit more time with the plants if you want to, or you can move on and observe the next. It's really, really up to you how you want to do that. But hey, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right. Now, let's move on to some just basic tips, okay, that I would like to give you if you are a self taught herbalist or you want to go this route of self taught herbal medicine, right? Or herbalist. The first thing I would recommend is that you grow your herbalist library. Now, on my YouTube channel, The Demystified Herbalist, I have a video that talks about how to grow your herbalist library based on the type of herbalist that you want to be. So go and check that video out. It's really informative. I give you some tips, some examples, and even some of the books that I have that have been very beneficial to me in my own library as well. So go ahead and check that out. But begin to grow your herbalist library. That is very important. And you can have a mixture between digital books and hands, touching books. I like to touch books, okay? Because if ever the internet or whatever shuts down, my learning will still continue. So I'll have my books and I'll have my notes, right? So that is very important. And a lot of these resources you can get for free. I've gotten library books. I've checked out books there. I've also bought books on Amazon for a couple bucks, especially these old books that nobody really wants, but I get them for a couple bucks. Yard sales, thrift stores. I mean, there's many ways that you can grow your herbalist library inexpensively. Okay. Also check online. There's tons of free resources online, free classes. Even a lot of these big time schools have free anatomy and physiology classes, chemistry classes. Utilize those things, right? And then also consider taking, some online courses to kind of help with the gaps in learning. It kind of breaks things up a little bit and it gives you a little dive into being in a classroom setting, mostly online, right? But it can kind of help by picking certain subjects, help you fill in the gaps. All right. The other thing I would recommend is to consider linking up with other herbalists who have been in the field longer than you, and they can kind of help guide you along your path. Sometimes they can just help be, a soundboard, for the things that you're interested in, or maybe some struggles that you might have. Having that support is very important, because sometimes it can get lonely, especially if you are the only one in your area that is an herbalist, or if you have multiple herbalists in your area, but you're the only one that wants to seemingly gather folks together and they don't want to. you know, that too can make it kind of lonely. But you're not the only one out there. So if you have somebody that you feel confident and you can trust, consider linking up with them. The other thing I would say is be prepared to be a lifelong learner. I don't care what anyone says. Be prepared to be a lifelong learner. And last, don't worry about the naysayers. Like I told you before, the proof is in the pudding. Okay? And if you've helped even just one person, trust me, the word will get out and people will come knocking at your door. So you just worry about getting the knowledge that you need for what it is that you want to do. Get started on it, know that thing, and then start reaching out to help people that need it. All right. So I pray that this was helpful to you on your journey. Feel free to check out future podcasts on Spotify and YouTube. And until next time, family, shalom.